Have you ever just stopped and wondered why is that thing cool and that thing isn't? Or why some tastes, in music or art are seen as sophisticated while others are just kind of brushed aside? Well, it turns out there are these invisible rules, these hidden games being played all around us, and they shape everything, our choices, our successes, even how we see ourselves. So today, we're going to learn how to spot them. All right, let's just dive right in with a puzzle. What you're looking at is Marcel Duchamp's Fountain from 1917. Now, this thing is hailed as one of the most influential artworks of the entire 20th century. But it's a urinal, a factory-made urinal, flipped on its back and signed with a fake name. So the question is, how on earth is this a revolutionary masterpiece? And then, here's the flip side. If you saw this exact same object in a hardware store, it's just a urinal. Nobody's calling it art. Nobody's paying millions for it. It's just plumbing. So what gives? How can the same exact object be both a celebrated work of art and just a mundane piece of hardware? Well, the answer to that question reveals the hidden forces that structure our entire social world. To crack this puzzle, we're going to need a guide, someone who's spent his entire life mapping out these invisible social games. And our guide today is an incredible French sociologist who gave us a whole new toolkit for seeing the world. And that guide is Pierre Bourdieu. See, Bourdieu's whole thing was that to really get what's going on in society, you have to look past the obvious stuff. He developed what he called thinking tools, a set of concepts that let us see any social situation, whether it's the art world or your office, as a competitive game with its own very specific set of rules. So Bourdieu's toolkit basically has 3 core concepts, and they all work together. Once you get these 3, I promise you are going to start seeing these hidden games absolutely everywhere. They're called the field, capital, and habitus. Let's break them down. Okay, think of it like this. The field is the game board itself, like the world of art or the world of politics. Capital is the chips you use to play the game. And spoiler alert, we're not just talking about money. And then there's habitus. That's your intuitive feel for the game. All the instincts that guide your moves without you even thinking. All right, let's grab the first 2 tools from our kit, the field and capital. And we'll use the 19th century French art world as our example game board, because that's the world that set the stage for our friend Duchamp and his urinal. First up, the field. For Bourdieu, a field is basically any social arena where people are competing for something. The academic world, the business world, even your local book club, they're all fields. Each one is its own little universe, with its own logic, its own prizes, and its own unwritten rules about what it actually takes to win. Now, let's look at that artistic field back in 19th century France. It was a total battleground, with 2 teams on opposite ends. On one side, you had what was called bourgeois art. These were the mainstream, commercially successful artists. They were killing it, and their main goal was economic profit. But on the other side, you had the art for art's sake crew. These were the rebels, the avant-garde, who totally rejected selling out. For them, the prize wasn't money. It was symbolic recognition, prestige, respect from their peers. 2 completely different ways to win on the very same game board. Okay, so to play in any field, you need capital. You're playing chips. Now, we all know about economic capital, right? That's money, property, the stuff you have. But Bourdieu's huge game-changing insight was identifying other kinds of capital. And that brings us to cultural capital. This isn't what you have, it's what you know. It's your knowledge, your skills, your tastes, your education. In the art world, for example, knowing the history of surrealism is way more valuable than just having a fat bank account. And cultural capital isn't just one thing. It comes in 3 different flavors. First, there's embodied capital. This is the stuff that's literally part of you. Your accent, your taste in music, the way you carry yourself. It takes a long time to get. Then there's objectified capital. These are physical things you own that signal your cultural status, like a huge library of classic books or a collection of modern art. And finally, you've got institutionalized capital. These are the official stamps of approval. Think a degree from Harvard or winning a Pulitzer Prize. Okay, so we've got the game board, the field, and we've got the chips, capital. But how do you actually know how to play? How do you know which moves to make? Well, that brings us to Bourdieu's third and maybe his most fascinating tool. And that tool is called habitus. Now, this one can be a little tricky, so let's hear it straight from Bourdieu himself. He said habitus captures how we carry within us our history and how we then make choices to act in certain ways and not others. It's basically how our past shapes our present instincts. So, To put it simply, Habitus is your feel for the game. It's not a set of rules you memorize, it's that deep gut feeling that just tells you what to do. It's how a great basketball player just knows where to be on the court, or how a seasoned musician can improvise a solo. It's your social muscle memory. And it's what makes you feel totally at home in some situations and like a fish out of water in others. But what happens when the rules of the game suddenly change? Bourdieu had a name for this, the hysteresis effect. It's that jarring moment when your deeply ingrained habitus is suddenly out of sync with the field. Think of a corporate executive whose old-school, top-down management style just doesn't fly with a new generation of employees. All of a sudden, their feel for the game is completely out of date. It's a liability. Okay, field, capital, habitus. We have our tools, we're ready. Now let's put them all together. How do these three concepts solve our urinal puzzle? And, more importantly, reveal how power really works in our world? Let's go all the way back to that urinal. Duchamp's fountain became a masterpiece because of the social game, not because of the object itself. See, Duchamp already had a ton of cultural capital. He was a known avant-garde artist. He then made his move in the artistic field right at a moment when the rules were changing, when the idea behind the art was becoming more important than the physical craft. And in doing so, he totally short-circuited the habitus of the art world. He challenged everyone's deep-seated gut feeling about what a sculpture was supposed to be. The value was created by the play, not the porcelain. And this whole dynamic points to one of Bourdieu's most powerful ideas, symbolic violence. Now, this isn't physical violence. It's a much quieter, more invisible kind of force. It's what happens when the tastes and standards of the most powerful groups are presented as the only correct ones, the only legitimate ones. It's the power to make your way of seeing the world seem totally natural, which in turn makes other people feel like their own culture, their own tastes, are somehow less than or wrong. I mean, have you ever been in a room and suddenly felt like your taste in movies, or the way you talk, or the clothes you're wearing were just wrong? Like you didn't quite belong? That little pang of inadequacy, that feeling that you don't have the right knowledge, that is the sting of symbolic violence. You're being judged by the unwritten rules of a game you might not have even known you were playing. And this is so crucial because it shows that Bourdieu's tools are not just for analyzing weird art from 100 years ago. They are a powerful lens for understanding the games being played in our own lives, right here, right now. I mean, just think about it. The education system is a massive field where certain universities have way more institutionalized capital than others. Your career is a field with its own specific habitus for what a successful person looks and sounds like. Even our tastes in food or hobbies are part of this constant game of distinction. Bourdieu gives us the vocabulary to see and analyze all of it. So what's the point of all this? Why does it matter? Well, the goal isn't just to be critical of everything. The goal is to achieve what Bourdieu called reflexivity, and that's just a fancy word for the ability to step back and become aware of your own position in all these games, to understand how the fields you're in, the capital you have, and your own habitus have shaped who you are, what you want, and even what you think is possible. Because once you can make the invisible forces visible, you gain a little more freedom. You can navigate these games more consciously, and maybe, just maybe, you can even start to change the rules. So the question Bourdieu really leaves us with is this: what are the unseen rules that are shaping your world?